Hey guys, it's Mo Lester 2.2, and this is my boxing progression and how my style of boxing is currently and how I kind of determine that. So now, when assessing boxing, your style has to play a part with your body, and that means that your height, length, and weight, and who your opponent is matters. For example, if you are, shorter slash smaller in every aspect than your opponent, then you would have to have a style of boxing different from when you were bigger or taller than your opponent. And this doesn't have to be a big change. It could be a change in just pressure or the amount of feints or punches you are throwing. Now, the thing that kind of sucked for me was that I really like the style of a stocky fighter like Mike Tyson or like Canelo nowadays. And on the heavy bag here, before I even started training, I didn't really know how people hit it. As you could see, I didn't have good form or proper footwork, but I did have some good power on my punches due to the rotation in my body. And as you could see, I was also pretty skinny and had the measurements and body type of a taller fighter. I started boxing November 2020 and it is currently 2022. So I have been boxing for about a year and a half. When I started training, I had to learn how to properly throw my punches and learn basic footwork. My coach teaches a wide stance with a tight guard. He focused a lot on head movement, but for the first few months, I barely even used it in sparring because of fear of getting hit. My training was as followed. Monday and Wednesday was for heavy bag, hard work, drills, and basically cardio like sprints and bodyweight exercises in almost like a circuit like fashion. For example, I would do 2 minutes practicing weaves, which puts a lot of stress on my legs and waist, and then go straight onto pads for 2 minutes. Then finally have my break, and then say for my next drill, I would exchange practicing weaves with maybe push-ups or sprints. Regardless, to say building stamina was very hard as I was always dying at the end of my workouts. Friday was sparring day, and every week I saw myself improving. And on special occasions, my coach would bring in someone else to spar, mainly his friend, but it was someone who was the slightest bit bigger than me. And as you can see, my coach is smaller than me. So it worked out well when I would do a round of sparring with my coach and then a round with his friend because I had to switch my approach. This is how my pad work progressed after 2 months of training. As you could see, I have a lot more confidence in which punches I have to throw, and my punches are, extended. I still did not have the best form, but it was a big and exponential jump from when I first started. You will also see the same combinations that I was doing from when I first started pads and the speed of which that I hit them now compared to before. So a few days after this, I had my first fight, and well, sort of. It was against someone who didn't know how to box, and I had 2 months of training. So there wasn't a big build up to the fight, but when you are fighting with a crowd and going 100%, it does change the way that you fight a little bit. But because this guy was inexperienced, I won as he quit after the first round. So this is where I really started to understand how quickly I was progressing and how much I really had to learn and practice to even be decent at the sport. I really started investing my time into watching Southpaws like Manny Pacquiao and defensive fighters like Canelo and pressure fighters like Triple G. Now let's take a step back into when I had my first fight. I actually had a second fight 1 week after. This guy had about 40 pounds on me and had kickboxing experience for longer than I had boxing experience. But he didn't do it recently at the time. And I was really invested in boxing, like watching film. And he was also a little out of shape, as in fat. But nevertheless, it was a tough fight. I was the aggressor, and since I was the smaller fighter in every way, I really had to push the pace. Head movement went out the window and everything else. I almost pulled a KSI. I won after 3 rounds by unanimous decision. And my cardio was trash, even though I was in good shape. And my hands and arms were very weak because I could barely even keep them up after the first round of that fight. So now we fast forward to summertime and taking these fights were in December. So from December to summertime, I had the same training schedule, and then in the summertime, I had a new 2 month training schedule. It was 5 days a week, 2 hours each session. for the 2 months. So because of this, I naturally cut a good amount of weight. And the sparring was on Monday and Fridays. So I had more time in sparring and in the ring. And this was the biggest improvement in skill I had, even from not being experienced to having my 2 months experience. And this is where I found out how good Vasily Lomachenko was. So he is a Ukrainian boxer with an amateur record of 396 wins and one loss. That one loss avenged twice. His style could be described in one word, which is movement. His style is incredibly offensive, with the main aim of applying pressure and breaking down his opponent round after round. He utilizes punches and bunches, similar to Manny Pacquiao. Those punches are also accompanied with masterclass footwork. With his ability to cut angles, he has supreme feints like Canelo, a different array of guards, and amazing clinch work. I could go on and on about this boxer, but he, as well as me, is a Southpaw, which means, I'm right-handed. I lead with my right hand. So I plan to base my main style off of him. So what I take away most from him is his in and out pressure style of fighting that you may see in my third boxing fight here. So this fight was in December of 2021. So it was a year apart from my first two fights. Now at this time of the year, and right now I currently do 1 day of boxing a week. So my progress on cardio is solely based on what I do in my free time. So in the end, the biggest things I picked up in my year and a half of boxing is the proper back and forth and lateral footwork, along with cutting angles, to try through combinations of punches, and a lot of them, because you probably won't land all your punches, and focus on defense for better offense. So what is my actual style of fighting? I am striving for a pressure fighter fighting style like the Lomachenko guy showed you. I want to actively go forward while defending and slipping shots and countering at the same time. But currently, I am a fighter that does go forward, but I lack the proper cardio to constantly be going back and forth laterally and to avoid shots and then counter. So at times, I'm not going to be going forward and rely on my jab and backwards footwork to keep me safe, along with a high guard. I also tend to mix up my shots from head to body so I remain unpredictable. Thanks for watching.